Next, Hugo de Varese, the mutation theory. So Hugo de Varese, he discovered the mutation and proposed that it was this mutation that were the source of new traits that permitted evolution to occur. So here, even we will recall that the Mendel's law was reproduced by this one of the scientists was Hugo de Varese. So he has proposed a mutation theory. What mutation theory suggests is the organisms that transfer their characters to the subsequent generation. But some forces or there is some change which is not in their control, or it can be a controlled change. That change, it was referred to, or that word was given was, or it was coined was a mutation. So here we can find that as 4 colonies, out of that one has been missing. So this is what the missing is. It has led to the change, and this was proposed by Hugo de Varese in the form of the word mutation. He discovered the mutation and proposed that it was this mutation that were the source of new traits that permitted evolution to occur. Now this was the one area in Darwin's theory that was weak. He was not knowing this term mutation. So Darwin's theory did not account for the genetic basis of variation. Later on, Neo-Darwinism we will discuss in our coming lecture. We will add this. Now we will discuss about Charles Darwin. So he was a naturalist, English naturalist. He proposed that evolution occurred as a result of natural selection. So every time we will discuss about Charles Darwin, then we will be discussing or we will talking about natural selection. So it is the nature who selects, or it is the condition, amongst the condition the organism which can adapt or which can best survive is been selected. So now we know that the survival of the fittest. So the basis for that is the natural selection. So he has given, or based upon some observations, he has given some points: over reproduction or overproduction. So what he believed, it was again based upon the finding of a mathematician, Thomas Malthus, who has written an essay on population, and in his finding he has noted down that every organism has an ability to over reproduce. That is, the number of offspring they actually produced, that organism has very larger capacity or more capacity than that. That is, within a population more offspring are produced in each generation than can survive. And why they can't survive is because of the limitation of space and food. Here we can add a term called as competition. Because of the competition, interspecific and intraspecific. The competition, it checks the population level. The competition, individuals compete for the available food, opportunity to mate and reproduce. So because of this, the numbers of organisms, they are lowered down, they are cut down. Next, variation. Within each generation, some individuals are better fitted to survive than the other organism because of variation in the characteristics. That is a change in the characteristics. Now this change, it has been favored. Say for example, the environment is very cold. So the organism which can or which has ability to change, or best consider a organism or a species which can adjust according to the changing environment. In this example, consider organism which can sustain extreme cold. So it is on the favorable side, or it can be favored over the other organism, and it can lead to the variation. Next, survival of the fittest. Those individuals better fitted to survive are more likely to live long enough to reproduce. So again this principle is based upon the variation. The organism who is able to adapt according to the situation has higher chances of survival. If it survives, it can feed upon the nutrition and available resources. It can best grow. If it is in the best state of growth, only then it can reproduce and increase its population. Next, transmission of favorable traits, that is reproduction. Offspring with fittest individual, obviously with fittest individual will be able to inherit their favorable variation to the descendant generation, and they will be on a favorable side to survive and again further reproduce. So over a course of time their population will keep on increasing. The organism with maximum efficiency or maximum adaptation best suited, they will grow and they will survive. Speciation. Next is evolution of species. Accumulation of favorable variation will gradually lead to appearance of new species better adapted to their environment. It can lead to formation of different species. Now, what were the weaknesses of Darwin's theory? So Darwin, he failed to account the genetic basis of variation. So he has pointed out that variation has been there, but what is the foundation of its variation was not known. So later on we know now that it is the genes or the genetic content. The change in the genetic content leads to variation. Natural selection. Natural selection is the process where inheritable traits that make it more likely for an organism to survive long enough to reproduce become more common over successive generation of a population. And this is a very key mechanism for evolution. In that case, the Charles Darwin, who has visited the Galapagos island, he has found out the finches over there, birds over there. So they were named as Galapagos finches, or more prominently they are now known as Darwin's finches. They provided an excellent example for this process. Amongst the birds that ended up in arid environment, the one with beaks better suited for the eating cactus. So where there was scarcity of water in that area, the flowering plants were very low in number, and the organisms like cactus, they were more. So the birds which have a long beak size, they were able to feed on the cactus. So they were at an advantage, and obviously they have survived and they have given down, or they have inherited their traits to the next generation. Similarly, those with beak shapes that were better suited to get nectar from the flowers or eating hard seeds in the other environments were at an advantage over there. So depending upon the situation, the organism which was better adapted was having better survival rate. In a very real sense, nature has selected the best adapted variety so that it can survive and it can reproduce. The organism which can reproduce is the one who has been at an advantage level. So the organism which has survived has reproduced and they have transferred their characters to the subsequent generation.